It's Graham here, living the dream in April 2022, and Fiona and I are still in Eastern Tennessee, and we hope you enjoyed the last video where we took you to the Dolly Stampede. Today we're going over to Gatlinburg, I think it's called Gatlinburg, and we're going to Anakeesta, which is a sort of a Smoky Mountain theme park. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. But before we do that, we're going to take a trip down to the bottom of Tom and Star's property on board Tom's ATV, which is going to be a little bit of a fun ride for Fiona and I. So let's get on with that, and then after we do the trip in the ATV, we'll be heading over to Anakeesta in Eastern Tennessee. Tom is without a doubt one of the great outdoors type of guy, and he was really looking forward to taking Fiona and I down to the bottom of his property. And of course, being the true red-blooded American, Tom had all the toys to go with this large and fantastic property, including this ATV, or as Tom and Star described it, as a side-by-side. Anyway, it's four-wheel drive, and that is certainly going to be needed today.
That's my efficiency. His belt. There's my belt.
And there's mine.
Yeah. He does my contract.
I can assure you guys that no animals were injured in the making of this episode. However, how Squishy never got squished by Tom and his ATV was beyond me. But without a doubt, this property in Tennessee is doggy heaven. Okay, I think Tom was getting a little lost here. He did tell us that he used one of his other red-blooded American toys, of course the dozer, to create a path down to the stream at the bottom of his land. Yeah, I'm not sure, Tom, if you were that successful at that. However, the one thing this video didn't convey was the screams from Fiona as we headed down the hill.
How to get over there.
But we did finally make it to the bottom, and the stream that Tom wanted to show us, which was coming straight out of this tree. It was pretty weird, but very beautiful indeed. Okay, we made it down here, so it's time to make our way back up to the house and head to Anakeesta.
I get in the middle again, so you get all the whacking of the
You gonna hang on tight, Rachel?
It's actually much easier going uphill because it pushes you backwards, right?
Right, let me get some bars to hang on.
With Rachel still enjoying herself, clearly not too distressed by her father's driving here in the ATV, we were nearing the top of the hill again. And of course, the fallen tree that we discussed in the last video. I'm still totally amazed at how squishy it never gets squished by Tom in the ATV. But just like us, the dog seemed to really enjoy the trip down to the bottom of the garden. Is it the yard? Is it the land? I've got no idea, but this is a fantastic property that Tom and Star have in eastern Tennessee. So with Rachel heading off to her own house and her own project, it's time for us to head to Anakeesta in the Smoky Mountains of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. But before we do that, Fiona and I decided to take a walk out to the fallen tree again. And as together we pondered our future and wherever our forever home was going to be, we seriously considered eastern Tennessee. So what's this place we're going to, Tom?
Anakeesta.
Anakeesta?
Anakeesta.
And what are we going to do there?
Not really sure.
You booked it.
I did not. Some little Persian chick about this tall did.
She midget?
It's a midget. Midget and gidget.
It's my midget.
Yeah, I think it's Smoky Mountain views and restaurants and whatnot. But first we're going to go to the nice place. Bud's Gun Shop.
Oh, you got your voucher?
Oh,
Yep,
you got your voucher? You got your voucher?
Yep, right there.
We're
Ready?
going to gun shop, boy.
Gun shop. We're gonna buy Fiona an AR, or maybe a rocket launcher. Oh, flamethrower.
Flamethrower?
Yeah, she's a flamethrower kind of gal.
What do you reckon?
Flamethrower?
Or an AR?
BB gun? BB gun? Wash gun?
Okay, baby, go.
You haven't taken Fiona shooting yet?
Tomorrow, we'll make it the Wild West, Fiona.
Sorry.
Do that again, Tom. What are you going to shoot Fiona? Right before this video deteriorates like the last one, it's time to get back into the car for the 90-minute drive to Anakeesta. But first, we're off to Bill's gun shop in the outskirts of Knoxville because Tom got gift vouchers for Christmas, or was it his birthday? And I know what you're thinking, guys. Most of us get Amazon gift vouchers to buy some electrical goods, but not here in Tennessee because you get vouchers for the gun shop. And in case you're wondering, guys, this is Knoxville International Airport, and sadly we will be back here tomorrow. But all of that to come in another video. Back to today, we were on our route still to Bill's gun shop, where Tom had grand plans to spend his gift vouchers. And where, guys, are you going to find a gun shop in Tennessee? You guessed it, in a strip mall, and as you can see, Fiona was very impressed not. However, she did briefly go in, but the emphasis is without a doubt on the briefly. Because as soon as Tom had spent said gift vouchers, we were back in the car heading in the direction of Gatlinburg and of course the Smoky Mountains. But as we arrived back in civilization, if you can call Sevierville civilization, we were turning right in the direction of Gatlinburg. And of course, when we made the same journey yesterday, we turned left in the direction of the Dolly Parton Stampede. And arriving in Gatlinburg, it was time, first of all, to go for some lunch. And this, guys, is Anakeesta, which I'll come back a little bit later in the video. As I said, our priority right now was to find somewhere to eat for lunch. And we would be doing that in downtown Gatlinburg. And finding somewhere to eat in this tourist mecca was going to be no problem at all. The consensus, once again, being burgers and barbecue. And as soon as lunch was over, it was time to head to Anakeesta, which in effect is a country theme park on top of a hill, which you get to via chairlifts, which is exactly where we're heading now. I know, guys, that the line for the chairlift looks to be pretty long, but to be quite honest, it wasn't really. I think we were in line for only 15 or 20 minutes. And this, guys, is Anakeesta. And as I said earlier, it's basically a set of trails perched on the top of a mountain, in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, no less. Excited, Tom?
Very.
Are you very excited? How excited are you? On a scale of 1 to 2.5 million?
1.
What? Do you think Star's excited?
Always.
Always, in always. And you guessed it, guys, we'd finally made it to the front of the queue and the chairlifts. And just in case you're wondering, those with prams, buggies, strollers or just mobility issues can use the gondolas instead of the chairlift that we're on now. There was some excitement at this part of the ascent. A couple in a chairlift heading down had said that there was a bear just beyond the road. I think Tom might have actually spotted the bear, but to be honest, guys, I'm not quite sure. And as we approach the top, I want you to watch carefully as Tom gets his ass kicked by the chairlift. Just to land right in that spot?
Yeah, right there.
Land there, just there, just there.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
okay, okay.
Go for it.
Go! I'm not sure if it was Tom's prized asset or his ego that got bruised the most, but nevertheless, we'd finally arrived at Anakeesta, and the plan now was simply to go and explore. Oh!
I tell you.
I got that in camera.
Good.
That's abuse.
Ready? There you go.
Anyway, after that act of violence on behalf of Star in my direction, our plan was to climb the tower, which in reality was an elevated viewing point, which promised 360-degree views over the Smoky Mountains and Gatlinburg vista. And neither Tom or I were complaining about this view on ascent either. And finally we made the top, where the views certainly didn't disappoint. And of course Fiona knows that I've got a thing about walking on glass floors. I don't. I think we can all agree that the views at the top of the tower were absolutely fantastic. But all good things must come to an end, and it's now time to head back down. And our plan now was to head towards the treetop walk before taking the chairlift back down to Gatlinburg. I think from memory the rule stated that you were only allowed 6 or 8 people on each of the rope bridge sections at a time, so that's why we're waiting at the moment to start the treetop walk. I think Star is trying to kill me again this afternoon. I think what she needs to remember is that plenty have tried before and failed, because I'm living proof that it is very hard to kill a bad thing. And Tom thinks he spotted another bear in those woods, but I wish he would hurry up before Star throws me off this rope bridge. But with Fiona taking over control of the camera, it's my turn to be evil and very, very bad. Right, I think this is the last section of rope bridge on this incredible treetop walk at Anakeesta. Next stop will be the chairlift back down to Gatlinburg. Of course, no treetop walk would be complete without the obligatory, or should I say mandatory, walk through the gift shop. But of course I should have said straight through the gift shop, because we weren't stopping. Because the chairlifts were waiting, along with Tom and potentially his second ass kicking of the day. And safely on board, we were on descent towards Gatlinburg. As I slow down the video for a few minutes, I just want to say how fantastic this day trip to Anakeesta was. The views from this chairlift and of course Anakeesta itself were absolutely beautiful. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Star for organising this fantastic day. So as we make our final descent towards Gatlinburg, it will soon be time to bring Friday and our last full day in Tennessee to a close. This video will continue with some photographs that Fiona and I took while in Anakeesta today, before we take you forward to tomorrow and our trip into Knoxville, before heading back to the airport and the first leg of our flight home to Glasgow. So if you want to continue to follow Fiona and I and what's left of our two-step, two-state adventure, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon to be notified when the next video is published. And of course we're preparing to see if Tom gets a second ass kicking. But as I edit the content, I think it's Fiona that struggles the most. Leaving, or is it escaping, the moving chairlift? Anyway, that's us back in Gatlinburg, so it's time to share with you some of the photographs that we took from today's trip. I nearly forgot. Tom wanted to finish off our last full day in Tennessee with some fireworks. The truth is, guys, that Tom and Star were probably celebrating the fact that we were finally going home tomorrow. So it is just after 8 AM on Saturday morning, and as you can see, it is overcast here in Eastern Tennessee. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. It's about 14 degrees Celsius at the moment. The temperature's to get up to about 23 today, which I believe is 86 in American. And we're still at the home of Tom and Star, our awesome friends who I'd like to personally thank for their hospitality during this last stage of our two-step, two-state series. Tom and Star have made an excellent life for themselves here in rural Tennessee. I have to admit, I think Fiona and I are pretty jealous of their lifestyle here. This state has got an incredible vibe to it, and I must admit, being our first trip to Tennessee, I think Fiona and I are extremely impressed by the hospitality, the friendliness, and what there is to see and do in this fantastic state that, of course, is Tennessee. And for the last 10 months, Fiona and I have been searching for a new home. And you know what, guys, we have talked several times during this trip if we could live here in the United States, and I must admit the answer, of course, would be yes. This state has got an incredible vibe to it. As I said earlier, it is a fantastic place. I think it offers a great lifestyle for anyone looking to live in the great outdoors here in the US. However, for Fiona and I, we're going to be heading back to the UK tonight. We'll arrive back sometime tomorrow mid-morning, and I think we're leaving with a bittersweet taste that, you know, we've really enjoyed this trip to the United States, and it's really sad that we're bringing this trip to a close today. And as I say, I really want to thank everyone who has been so supportive in the making of this series, from Phil, Gail, of course Gail's mother and sister up in Michigan last week, to catching up with Jeff, Tom and Star as part of the second part of this trip down here in Tennessee. It has been an awesome trip. I've really enjoyed making it, but the video isn't over yet as we continue our two-step, two-state mini-series on the last day here in Eastern Tennessee. With our cases packed, Fiona and I were ready to head back to the airport and start the long eastbound journey back across the Atlantic. And of course, Tom and Star would get their home back, but I think they had another guest coming to visit them the week after us. That'll teach the pair of them for having such a gorgeous house and living in one of the most beautiful places in the United States. And with that, we were off to Knoxville first for some lunch, and then we'd be heading back to the airport. Approaching the outskirts of Knoxville, our journey eastbound along the Interstate 40 was becoming very familiar. However, this journey we would be coming off the interstate and into the city centre itself. The 2020 US Census put the population of Knoxville, Tennessee at 191,000. That was an increase of 7% over the 2010 census. Knoxville is also a university town, home to the University of Tennessee. And that's why, unlike so many US cities, Knoxville has a very vibrant city centre social scene, with plenty of city centre shops and restaurants. And parking up, it was time to walk the short distance to the restaurant we were having lunch. And en route, Star was really keen to show us the local park. And please remember, guys, at the time of recording this episode, Tom and Star had only been residents in Tennessee for a little over 1 year. So in effect, Knoxville, Tennessee was now their adopted home city. I think the street art you're seeing here in Knoxville is really interesting. And of course, the art encourages you to take part. For me, this is what sets Knoxville apart from so many US cities that I've visited over the decades. We're at the heart of a city with a vibrant pub and restaurant culture. There are even street performers, and as you can see, there are no skyscrapers. I'm not sure I should say this, it's probably going to get me a lot of hate comments. But dare I say it, Knoxville has a very European vibe. However, our visit into Knoxville today was going to be very short, far too short indeed. Fiona and I have promised to come back and spend more time in the city in the future. But for now, it is time for some lunch. Sadly for us, lunch went far too fast. Enjoying some gorgeous food, but most importantly, enjoying some fantastic company. Time wasn't on our side because we had a flight to catch. And if you're wondering why I'm carrying a polystyrene carry-out food box, the bottom line is I was beaten once again by large American portions. Talking to Tom a few days later, I heard that both Rachel and Squishy enjoyed the other half of my chicken and waffles. As you can see, the car wasn't parked very far away. And back in the car meant our Tennessee adventure was now coming to an end. I really do hope that Fiona and I were able to convey how much we enjoyed our first ever visit to this state. As I edit this video, we've been back in the UK nearly 3 weeks. We're still searching for our forever home. And if we could just make it work, Knoxville and Eastern Tennessee would be a no-brainer. Right as we approach Knoxville Airport, it's going to be time to bring this episode to an end. I hope you've enjoyed our two-step, two-state mini-series, and most importantly, Fiona and I hope you've enjoyed our content from our trip across the pond in April 2022. The next few videos on the channel are going to be pure trip report as Fiona and I make our way back to Scotland. So for the last time in this video series, if you want to continue to follow the channel and of course be notified, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon. And finally, once again, a massive, humongous thanks to Tom and Star for their hospitality during our visit here in Tennessee. As I was editing the first part of this video, Tom called me to say that him and Star were planning to come here to the UK next summer. So you never know, in 2023 I might be producing a video from my adopted home here in Scotland. So until the next video on the channel, thank you so much for watching.